Hi guys and welcome to Horologique. Today we will be unboxing the brand new Seiko GMT, the Seiko 5 GMT that arrived just like 10 minutes ago. So guys, I wanted to give you my very first impressions. Just before we get to the unboxing, here is my beloved SKX. During the video I will be jumping back to this one so we can compare some bits here and there, but later on the full review I'm going to be comparing it right away with the SKX and with my 5KX suits as well. And I got this watch from Serious Watches. I don't know if you've heard from them. They have an amazing, and what I mean amazing, it's amazing customer service. They're not even paying me to say these guys, but right now let's get on with it already. Alright, oops, there goes the astronaut. And the outer box, there it goes. You've got the manual with the 4R34 GMT movement. This is the important part, guys. 4R34 GMT. We are going to be measuring this movement on the timegrapher. That is a very important part. But right now, let's check. Yeah, there you go. We have the serial number. We've got everything that we need. Okay, let's put that away and let's focus on the inner box. You know, if you know your Seiko 5s, you know this box. Nothing special, nothing fancy, but it does the job. And here is the watch. Yeah, and I got myself the Batman version. This is the SSK003 K1. This is one of the first things that I wanted to check. We can see now that the bezel rotates in both ways. It is not like very easy to move, which is good because you don't want these bezel to move and to lose your time zone that you're tracking. But it is reasonably good. Alright, you know what, let's take all of these out. And yes, I've seen other reviews. This is going to be one of the bad points from this watch. Why Seiko? Why give us a solid link bracelet with solid end links, everything, charge almost 500 freaking euros, and give us a teeny clasp that is cheapening out? Well, okay, let's not focus on that right now. Alright, my overall impressions. It is pretty solid. It looks like a pretty solid watch, but for the clasp that I have already mentioned, it looks pretty different from an SKX. That's because of the bezel insert. It does change it, and because of the hand. I mean, you've got the family resemblance, of course. It is the same case. It is pretty much the same watch, but you do I do believe that bezel insert and that hand gives it a lot of, you know, it does separate it a lot from the SKX family and the 5KX to some amount. On top of the dial you've got the Seiko applied and the 5 just painted underneath, and on the bottom of the dial you've got the stylized automatic and in red GMT. The indices are applied as well, and they're not just printed like it was the case with the SKX. This comes from the new Seiko 5 family, where most of them are applied actually, and as you can see in this version the GMT hand is red. So far so good. Aesthetically, I believe that this watch is very, very nice looking. As we're talking about the dial, let's go to a controversial part, and that will be the Cyclops. I would have preferred that it not have it. That way it would have been a fully original Seiko design, not aping from the stuff from Rolex, because here it is like it's trying to be a bit of a Batman, but you know, Seiko, you have the right to be proud of your stuff. You don't need that ugly Cyclops in there. You've got two ways to read your GMT time. You've got, of course, the rotating bezel, and you've got your inner, in the re-hot, you've got the 24-hour markers as well. I'll tell you what, let's see how the movement operates. And yes, this is the important part. If you've seen the video made about a month ago talking about this watch when it was first announced, I told you that the most important part would be that movement, and I still believe it is. So let's see how it works. Let's see how the movement works. So first pull is going to be setting the day as usual. There you go. If you rotate it counterclockwise, and if you rotate it clockwise, you set the GMT hand, and as you can see, it jumps from hour to hour, and this is what you call an office GMT, meaning that first you set your home time, and then with the GMT hand you set the second time zone that you want displayed. Okay, so that was the first position out, and the second position out is hacking, so this movement is pretty much an NH35 with a GMT complication, so it hacks and hand winds. And there you go. There you can see that everything moves. Sadly, you do not have a screw down crown. Now this looks very, very good. -1, -3, as you can see, very, very stable. A pretty low amplitude, but that is typical of Seikos. A higher bit error, but that is really acceptable, 0.03 milliseconds. And as you can see, really stable at the -1 mark. This looks like a very good movement, guys. Very much in par with what you got from the NH35s. Of course, you've got the same -35 +45 range, but as you can see, it is the case here again. Most of them perform much better than that, and I am glad that this new NH35 is performing as well as those ones. Let's talk about dimensions, shall we? And you've got a classical 42, yeah, it's supposed to be 42.5, yeah, I got it 42.3. You've got, not counting the Cyclops, of course, a height of, yeah, I get 13.7, it's supposed to be 13.9, yeah, 13.7, 13.8. And the good thing about this case is that it's very short, lug to lug, and indeed I get 45.7. Yeah, we've got 22 in lug width, and the bracelet tapers therefore from 22 to 17.6, 17.5, and then up to 19.8, 19.7. And with none of the links removed, we've got a weight of 162 grams, so pretty chunky. Now let's have a look at the bracelet. The bracelet is a carryover from the famous SKX. So you've got the 5-link Jubilee, but here you've got solid links and solid end links. This was a surprise. This was a big question mark. I did not know if they would put solid links and solid end links, but they have, which makes it that the bracelet is much more sturdy than what I remember from the famous and infamous SKX bracelet. Take a look at that. It is not Rolex sturdiness, but it is much better than what you had before. The only bad part about this watch is going to be I already alluded to it, but it's going to be this bad clasp. It is signed Seiko, okay, that is cool and stuff. You've got a double security with a double deployment, yeah, that's pretty cool. But you've got your typical, in typical Seiko cheap ass fashion, you've got your pressed metal. That is not good Seiko, especially at this price point, because this watch costs 475 euros, which is at the same time a lot and not a lot. It depends on your perspective, but from a Seiko 5 range, I believe that it's one of the most expensive Seiko 5s that have come out so far. You can say that you've got an all new, not an all new, but you've got a kind of new GMT movement. We'll talk about that later in a full review, shall we? Alright, so what are my very first impressions about this Seiko 5 GMT? Aesthetically, it is a very nice looking watch. It keeps the codes of the famous SKX, but with that sunburst and that very nice hardlex bezel insert, it adds some pizzazz to it, which makes it a bit nicer. That bracelet is good, pretty good from what I can see. That clasp is crap, and that movement looks amazing. At least in this one, it performs amazingly. Maybe I got lucky. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be wearing this watch for a few days, especially measuring the movement accuracy, and then I'm going to be releasing the full review where I'm going to be comparing it with its very famous sibling, the SKX, and of course the 5KX. In the meantime, thank you very much guys for having watched the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. Let's make it to 10K this year. Yes, we can. Don't forget to comment on what you think about this watch. Maybe you already have it. Supply is not very high. You can find them at this time, but they're already starting to run out. Don't worry, because Seiko is getting more batches out. But yeah, if you want to be like the first to get it, don't hesitate to buy it if you can find it. I'm going to leave the link, of course, to Series watches and to other places where you can find this watch. Thank you so much guys, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.